Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 590, recorded live on Sunday, February 16th. I'm your host, Patrick. Returning to the show, and my guest this week is Draculetta.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Thanks for having me back on, Patrick.
Yeah, welcome back from Barovia. Hopefully you're not bringing the Barovian plague with you.
Let's hope not.
Does seem to be a constant. You seem to have had that a little bit more than usual.
Yes, I have. This has been a bad winter, so hopefully that's all in the past now.
Here's to hoping. This week's screenshot. Adumar prays for divine forgiveness at a hidden shrine in the 451st screenshot of the week. Thanks, Ostort, for sending in this week's screenshot. I'm trying to think of where that is, and I don't. I don't think I know where it is.
I think that is the hidden shrine that they put out in Keep on the Borderlands.
Oh, in the Explorer area?
Yes.
Sure.
I think. I've only ran into it once, but I think that is because and the dead giveaway was the water in the back and the flowers, because I remember that being a little different than any other.
I think the
shrine
shrine
place.
looks like it's the Keep shrine, because I think it's a little styled a little differently too.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that's where that's from.
We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can catch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website at DDOCast.com. DDOCast is hosted by Cyber Ears, the awesome podcast hosting network. And shows, let's see, the next show will probably be next weekend. It's going to get a little dicier going into spring for me. But the show will usually be available within a few days of recording. Get that out as quick as we can, that kind of fun stuff. But you can stay updated by following us on our social media pages or our website, DDOCast.com. We also have a calendar, which I'm usually decently good at keeping up to date. Sometimes. Yeah. It's getting into spring. Things are getting busier. It's kind of going to be that way for a couple of months. On the podcast this week, we're not going to have a topic discussion per se. We're just going to kind of talk about, hey, Update 45, Age of the Alchemist came out. So mostly we're just going to focus on that. And feel free, if you're listening to this, just kind of take a guess the number of times I'm going to call this the Age of the Artificer instead of the Age of the Alchemist.
I've done that. I don't know how many times already.
Yeah, right. Like they're pretty similar, and
yep.
Yeah, it just feels like it's going to be super easy to do. Right. Well, let's jump into game news. So we're going to cover this we didn't have a show last week just because things, life and whatnot. So some of the stuff will be from the week before, but I want to kind of cover it separately because it really kind of pertains to changes that they made, and it's a little bit easier to organize some of this information and really kind of call out some of this information to make sure people catch some of these changes. So they wanted to take some time to let us know changes that had been made to Update 45 based on feedback provided after Preview 2. They did not do a third preview. It was not shocking to me, at least. I'll say two things about this at this point. A lot of people kind of had this perception that they needed to do a third preview. I never felt like that was true, because a lot of things that I don't think you need to do a preview just to tweak the numbers, right? So as long as your philosophy is set and the systems are working, changing the numbers to me doesn't make you don't need to do a preview for that. It's just changing numbers, which they can do once it goes live as well, which is kind of the other thing. So like I don't know, I didn't really see a need to have a third preview there, so I'm not shocked that they didn't. And the other thing that I noticed is there's a lot of people. I don't know where this idea comes from that they don't take feedback from the previews and make changes. Because they do, and they always have.
Yeah, they did a lot of it this time.
I mean, they did. I think it's fair to say that they did more of it in terms of, they listened to feedback on 20 things, but there were also like 150 things. So, like, from a percentage-wise, I didn't really feel like they were taking more feedback than normal. But maybe that's just me. But that was some of the stuff that I saw that was like critical of SSG, and I just didn't buy into for those two things. So let's see. So stuff that they wanted to change. There were a couple of things here. They didn't have any major changes after preview 2 in terms of range. That was kind of the big thing. They said for the time being, we are comfortable with where range has landed. It's possible that we will revisit this in the future, but we'd like to see how players adjust to the new dynamic before consider pulling back on the archer's focus movement restriction in the way suggested in the range thread. Look, here's big idea for me when it comes to balance changes. It's a game of whack-a-mole.
Always.
And I think, especially when it comes to balance, like you can only do so much in testing before it hits live, right? Because you're just never going to get the numbers of people in there whacking at it on Lamania or in their dev space before you get to live, and then the numbers just, do what they do.
Right. I think they'll get a better range of numbers and they'll have more players and more different type of players so they can see better numbers on live.
Sure. And I've seen some feedback too from people, and there's actually someone in the chat is saying it right now, essentially saying, hey, I gave feedback in preview 1 and they didn't comment on it or do anything with that. So why should I give feedback in preview 2? It doesn't feel like they're really doing anything. Again, this is not something that I personally buy into. They're gonna get a ton of feedback and suggestions. I hope they do and get a lot of that. I don't think, other than stuff that, when it's common things, I see them tend to comment on some stuff or some quick stuff, but I don't think I don't expect them to respond to every point of feedback from every single person. I gave feedback. I've given feedback a few times. I don't do it a lot because I don't tend to get on Lamania. But I saw nothing from them that indicated that they were going one way or the other on my feedback. And that doesn't mean that they don't read it and take it, right? Like, I get feedback on the show, not anywhere near the amount of feedback that they get, and I don't always respond. That's just how it is. If it comes in at a bad time, aka February to June, you're not necessarily gonna get a response. But I have never felt like that means that they're not taking that feedback. And I have seen them make changes. They're making a bunch of changes based on feedback. Look, you can give feedback and say, hey, I think you should do this. There's 3 answers that you can get. Yes, no, and no response. So, fundamentally, those are about the only 3 ways that it's going to go. So, and I don't really know where I'm going with this anymore. But at least say just don't be discouraged because you're not getting specific answers to your feedback. I know they've said several times that they're in a little bit of a tough spot because if they respond to something and say, hey, that's a great idea, then people take that to mean we're doing that. And then it's not there. And so, I don't know.
And like you said, I'm sure they get a ton of feedback too.
They got a ton of feedback this time.
The amount of time it would take them just to respond to every feedback that's left would probably eat up into a bunch of development time. So you kind of got to look at it that way too. But as they have stated,
go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, and as they have stated, and I know Cordovan on his streams had said, and I think you had mentioned it too, they do read that. Devs are on the forums, they see it. So, you got to kind of take that with, okay, at least they saw my feedback. Maybe, they'll take some of mine and add it with somebody else's, and we'll get a change for something.
The other thing I would say too is, like, casually perusing some of the feedback. way less than even like there is legitimately a ton of bad feedback. Giving feedback is an art. Feedback that says, I don't like these changes are going to ruin the game, you're all terrible at your jobs. That's not feedback.
Right.
I mean,
not very
well, let me rephrase that. It's not helpful feedback. It is feedback. You don't like it. Okay, great. But why don't you like it? What do you not like about it? You're just generically getting less powerful. Okay, but there's nothing. One, it doesn't give you. It's not productive. Like there's nothing in there that says how this impacts anything. It's just you don't like it. And also, that kind of feedback, you're terrible at your job, is also not helpful. And why would you expect them to respond to that? I don't understand why people do. But there you go. Feedback is a tricky thing because you need it if you want it to be productive and helpful. You need it to be constructive. It needs to say, this is what I don't like, or this is what the change is. This is how it impacts it. I either like it or don't like it, and this is why. Because the change, what it does, right? So, just think about that when you're giving feedback. It's tricky, right? Like, it's an art form. Some people are really good at it. I am not so much.
Me too. That's why I don't leave a lot of feedback either. Because I am not good at doing that.
It's also one of the reasons why I've never really bothered getting on, like, having any interest in the Players Council, and going through that iteration stuff. Because one, I'm just not going to do the numbers crunching. I don't care enough to do the numbers crunching. Right? Am I still having fun? Yes, great. I'm happy. I am not a great builder. So when you get into that kind of stuff, I'm not a great person to get in with and get feedback from. But also, I just know I'm not great with feedback. Also, I don't want to break an NDA by actually saying something on the show.
Yeah, that's my big thing why I'm not on it either. Because I would forget. Ooh, can I talk? No, can't talk about this yet. So it's like, we'll just.
Well, and you have to do that with all the games that you guys do on
right,
Video Player
exactly.
News.
That's
too,
I have a hard enough time remembering which board game I can talk about and not talk about. So
if it was me, I'd put it on the show notes. This game, embargo. This game, talk about. This game, embargo.
Yeah, that's about what I have to do.
Yeah. Anyways, that's enough of that rabbit trail. Thank you for listening to my ramblings on that subject. Suffice to say, like, give feedback. Try to make it as constructive as you can. Understand that you're not going to always get a specific response, and it may not change. So, and sometimes take heart. I remember, I don't know if you were around for this, when they changed how 2-weapon fighting worked. Boy howdy, the world was falling and the game was going to end.
Yep. Oh yeah, I remember that.
That was a long time ago. Tower of Despair was endgame at that point. Level cap was 20. So, sometimes they're a little smarter than you think they are. So, yeah. Okay. So getting back on track. Two-handed fighting. So they said it was clear that they undershot the two-handed fighting overhaul in a couple of areas. They undershot and backloaded strike-through values, so it wasn't fun to hit 1, maybe 2 enemies until high level, and then you would hit 2, maybe 3 enemies. Yes, especially when you're going from hitting like everything in front of you. Yes. The ripple effect of losing glancing blows was heavily felt for hand-and-a-half wielders and bears. Hand-and-a-half would be dwarf axes and bastard swords. Side note, we could use a few more of the hand-and-a-half items. I could use a bigger club or a bigger pick or something. It would be kind of fun. Give a little more variety in that combat style, right? Anyways, to address these issues, they came up with some things to do. These are designed to boost the total strike through that players will end up with, as well as front load it so it starts to feel good at lower levels. In addition, we have implemented some changes to make up for the loss of glancing blows to both hand-and-a-half wielders as well as bears. Short version here is they're increasing the numbers. We'll go through some of the specifics, but and this is the number tweaking, right? Like, this is pretty easy to do. Characters no longer require the feat two-handed fighting in order to be able to strike through while moving. Cool. I think it's a good change just from the standpoint that if you're gonna have, you can get strike through in all of these different places. To have to take the feat specifically doesn't work very well, I think. So, let's see. Since that was removed, the dwarf skill that they previewed to remove that restriction has also been removed. Bigger changes. The cap on strike through targets is now 5, so that's at 400%. That's a big difference. Much better. Yay. The feat line is now 60%, 30%, 30%, 30%. So let's see, that's up to 150% just through the feats. That feels great. They fixed the bug with the perfect feat line functioning properly. Those all also now stack. They did not stack previously. Oops. I'm not going to go through all of these, but basically all the stuff that grants strike through chance got increased. Most of the enhancements are now up to 5, 10, 20% if they're static. If it's a kind of a temporary thing, it's usually about 50%. So they really increased a lot of that stuff. I think that kind of covers most of that stuff. The hand in the half, they now apply 1.1 times your relevant ability score modifier to damage. That stacks with the bonuses from improved and greater single weapon fighting. Cool. Improved two-handed fighting and greater two-handed fighting also further increase that modifier, so you can get up to 1.6. It doesn't say. I'm kind of assuming that bonus does not stack with greater single weapon fighting or with the single weapon fighting stuff. Like you can pick one or the other. Have you seen anything on that, Drac?
I have not, no. And I looked when I read that, and I didn't see anybody talking about it on the forums either. So, but I
Yeah,
think you're right. I would assume you are correct on that too.
which is good, really, because having to take both to really maximize that's you're talking about 6 feats. That's a lot of feats, especially if you're doing something that's not a fighter. with
Right.
here's
Yeah.
all the feats
Exactly.
you want. Wild shape. So the first bear attack in the chain was not benefiting from any ability multipliers. Now it is. The natural weapon fighting is now also 60, 30, 30. Another side note: perfect natural weapon fighting seems like there's an opportunity there. You got it for other combat lines. Bears now update their ability score modifier to damage while using a two-handed weapon to 2, 2.5, and 3 when they take natural weapon fighting as well. Puts it in line with the two weapon, the two-handed fighting and the natural fighting. You don't get to use the two-handed fighting while you're in a bear form. So they put all that stuff in natural weapon fighting, so they're just kind of evening that out. Let's see. There's something that happened only on the money. Some other changes. Let's see. No, anything else you want to say about two-handed fighting before we move on?
No, I think the adjustments they made, then again, going back to our previous conversation, based on a lot of the feedback, I think are good. It's probably still not where it needs to be, but I think it's good. We'll
That's a
just
tough
put it that
space,
way.
a tough place to be.
Yeah.
More than where it needs to
Yeah.
be. I'm. I feel like I'm a little concerned about the how much strike through you can get. I would like to see those numbers higher. I think. I would like to see. I think it should be a lot easier to get to 400% strike through than it seems like it currently is, because you're only getting 150 through the feet line, and you're probably only getting another 20% from various things, from your enhancement trees, maybe another 20% if you have the right race and stuff. It just doesn't feel like you're gonna get as high as I think you should be able to get. And I think that's my biggest concern here is that strike through's not going to hit as much stuff as it kind of should, and it's going to be hard to do it, hard to get it there. That's kind of my concerns with the whole thing. On the bright side, my Warforged Barbarian two-handed fighter seems to be about as good as you could hope to really maximize the different things to increase that. So yay. Let's see some other changes. Let's see. A couple of items weren't implemented based on player feedback, but they were included anyways, just to let us know that they're coming. The new Paladin spell. So this is going to be called Righteous Command. I think we talked about this. They previewed a new version of Stalwart Pact, and everyone's like, "No, we like Stalwart Pact. Don't take Stalwart Pact away from us." So they took that what they're going to make it and made it a new spell. So +1 morale bonus to melee and range power per cash level, so you get up to 15. Get up to 15 there. Let's see. Extra Smites gets a 3rd rank. Tier 1 Knight's Command is replaced with improved second strikes, so that's strike through stuff. And Tier 2 Rally is replaced with critical mastery, critical damage, and confirmation. Interesting note there. Those are Tier 1 and Tier 2 abilities, which are earlier than most classes get them. Usually the critical mastery is in like Tier 3 or 4, not Tier 2. I think most of the strike through stuff is Tier 2 for most enhancement trees, so that's interesting. Let's see. Alchemist, let's see. I'm going to go through and kind of highlight some of this stuff. They tweaked a bunch of stuff. The big one, I think, Alchemist Toxic Augmentation has been removed and replaced with Envenom the Heart. Enemies hit by your melee or range strikes have a chance to be silenced, quelled, or have their attack speed reduced by 20% first 12 seconds with no save. This does not work. Or sorry, this does work on bosses, but at a lower proc rate. Hey, great, it works on bosses. That's nice. The Venom Alchemist Poison Strike, Poison Shot, Wave of Poison, and Greater Wave of Poison now cause poison immune enemies to become vulnerable to poison for 12 seconds. Kind of helps you out there. It kind of covers most of the stuff from Alchemist. Not huge changes, but just kind of some tweaky stuff. Here's some fun stuff, though. Cleave, Great Cleave, Supreme Cleave, and Whirlwind Attack can now double strike. Other skills that are cleave-like also now double strike as a result. Those plus Smite Evil and Exalted Smite are also now affected by your attack speed. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, that fundamentally makes these feats better. I've known a lot of people that just don't use them, just because it actually slows you down. It doesn't seem to help anything. So, yay! This is all fantastic stuff. Dance of Death from Ranger now applies its strike through buff even if the attack does not make contact with the enemy. That's fantastic. Actually hitting things sometimes is kind of a pain. I always like it when if an ability is going to give you a buff, that it's just use the ability and give me the buff.
Right, exactly.
Let's not make this contingent on lag, not getting a lag out moment or stuff like that. New items with the new Ghostbane effects. So new Ghostbane effect, meaning the new version of Ghostbane, which is the scaling version. Now deal their bane damage to all undead, not just incorporeal monsters. I believe that this also means that they no longer do extra damage to incorporeal not undead. Like, I don't know, Reapers. So, yay. This is actually... there's a little bit of history behind this change, because they basically returned Ghostbane to what it used to do, and then Ghostbane somewhere along the line got changed to just care about incorporeality. So that's just kind of fixing that. See, Sign of the Ethereal Plane. This is the one that they were going to change to being based on rank of hide. Now it doesn't care about hide at all, which I think is fundamentally a better place for it to be. You get so this is what it now does. You get lesser displacement and you have ghost touch. You get +6 D6 sneak attack dice and +5 melee and range power. And you get +4 to all skills, and you get permanent invisibility guard as per the item effect. This is I think, a fantastic way to change this ability, because the issue in the first place was scaling. By giving us sneak attack dice, then it still scales with melee power, right? Sneak attack scales with melee power, so there's still a scaling aspect to it. It's just not scaling off of a skill that you could get crazy with and not have a cap on in the same way. This is much more in line with the stuff that's the other feats that are similar, that give you dice of elemental dice. So it's much more in line with that. Edward in the chat is saying that this feat got murdered. Yeah, it did. It's true.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on record though and say that that's a good thing, just from the standpoint that when one feat is fundamentally way better than other choices and people are always choosing that feat, then that's a poorly designed feat. Because I think the game is better when people are making meaningful, interesting choices about how they're building things, as opposed to, if you don't pick this thing, you're doing it wrong. So, to a certain extent, there's some of that stuff is fine, but like if you're doing a dual wielding crossbow build and you don't take the thing that actually lets you do dual crossbows, you're doing it wrong. That's fair to say. Let's see. Ranged speed boost for bows. So there's a question about this, because they're gonna they're boosted range speed with bows by 13%. Linabelle said it's not a 13% buff using a player measurable metric in the same way that range alacrity is. They've actually increased the animation playback by a flat 13% across all levels. This is not something that would appear in the combat log and is not measurable on the character sheet metric. Cool. Okay, let's talk about the release notes for Update 45, Age of the Alchemist. I'm going to kind of cruise through some of this stuff and kind of skim over it. Drac, feel free to stop me if there's something you want to talk about.
Okay. Yeah, these were some really long release notes, too.
Yes. Well, they released a class, they changed an enhancement tree, and they did all this balance pass stuff. This is a lot of stuff. Let's see. New class, Alchemist. We've talked about this a lot. Keynotes. It's free to VIP and season pass holders, which means if you're a season pass holder, you now own the class, even if that you no longer become a VIP. The anniversary event returns. This is available through March 8th. It is back with new rewards and more. I've heard that it's changed a little bit, but I haven't been in it yet.
Me neither. I did see a couple of people run it on Twitch, and yeah, a couple of the boss fights, the rooms are a little different. But I actually haven't ran it yet myself either.
Yeah. Let's see. Adventure Pack updates. Both Delara's Tomb and the Catacombs have been updated to offer epic level versions of these classic adventures. See, players who already own these pack adventures and all VIP and season pass holders automatically have access to this. Question, SSG, if I'm a season pass holder and I don't actually own these outside of being a VIP, do I now own Catacombs and Delara's Tomb? Question mark? I don't know the answer to this.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's a good question. I would think yes, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
I don't know. I did not check to see if the price on those went up. Partly because I'm a VIP and that's really hard to check. But usually in the past they've increased the price, but I didn't see anything that said they were. I did run both of these actually today, shortly before the show. There are some small changes, at least in Epic. There's some small changes. I'm assuming several of them actually translate over into the heroic version, but I kind of liked a lot of them. For instance, in the Catacombs, I think. Oh, which one is it? 1, 2, 3. The 5th quest in the Catacombs chain. There's a couple levers that have these blade traps, and those blade traps are really deadly. And they only trigger. They used to only trigger when you pulled the lever. Now you have to run past the blade trap, but it's always active, so you can time it. And
oh, nice.
It's pretty easy to time. It's whoosh. whoosh, like there's time time there to run past it. So that was really nice. Um, Also, Delaris Part 2, there's a point where you had to pull a lever. It used to be that someone had to keep pulling the lever to alternate the doors. Now
Right.
it's a small puzzle now. So there's 3 levers there, and if you pull them in the right combination, the pathway is just open. So there's some small changes like that I really liked. Really nice. Let's see, 64-bit game client is now in beta. Hey, you can play this game in 64-bit now. There is some issues with that, and we'll talk about that. But we'll hopefully they'll get some of that ironed out. But you can play 64-bit. We knew that was kind of coming. Let's see, new classes: Alchemist, skip. If you want to know what the hell the up to date stuff on Alchemist is, go read the release notes or check out the wiki. Side note: the wiki is they are working on update. I saw someone complaining about the wiki being not up to date about update 45 stuff, like 2 days after it dropped. There's a lot of stuff to update, and if you'd like to help with that, they'd like some help with that. Let's see. The hit point changes are in. We've talked about that. Hey, Rangers can now train favorite enemy Vermin whenever they can select a favorite enemy. Why was that not on the list to begin with? Is that like a lore thing? Is that normal?
No, yeah, because in pen and paper you can take that at like the first level when you get a favorite enemy if
Right?
you
That
want.
seems
So
like a
yeah,
strange one
so
not to have.
I never understood that either, why it wasn't in game at all.
Well, stealth mechanics again. We've kind of talked about that. Nothing has changed since the earlier updates. There's also the charge attacks, which I'm gonna kind of go over. I haven't played with any of them yet, but they're supposed to be more reliable and kind of better using. Strike through, we kind of talked about animations. We'll mention this again. The animation sets for non-quarterstaff two-handed styles have been reworked to address the following issues. The last animation didn't blend into the first correctly. It now does. Yay! That's good. For balance and cosmetic reasons, all attack animations for these styles should now execute in the same amount of time. Previously, animations at the end of the attack chain took longer than those at the start. This encouraged players to animation break to avoid them, which looked repetitive and choppy. This was what we called twitching. I was terrible at it. Also, I never noticed the difference, which further emphasizes why I'm not not that good of a min-maxer. Standing attack speed has been slightly buffed. Mobile speed should be exactly the same. I think that's just more of an incentive to say, hey, stop moving around a little bit. It's better. Anyways. Let's see. We talked about the two-handed fighting and stuff. Kind of get through the the cleric feat, greater domain of destruction, now grants a 5% strike through chance, replacing its previous glancing blows. Man, I really wish that was like. I think they could still like double all the numbers, except maybe the first 60. Just make them all 60. I hope they kind of tweak these numbers up along the way. Let's see. All this stuff is kind of along the same lines. I mean, even Unbridled Fury is active. You only gain a plus 100% bonus to strike through chance. Like, can we just make that the max? Is that really that game breaking? It's supposed to be really cool and stuff. Yeah. A 3-piece filigree set now grants 5% strike through bonus. I mean, these numbers are. Oof. Let's see. Characters now play the entire attack animation cycle regardless of base attack bonus for all weapon types. So character will no longer only play the first couple attack animations and then pop back to the first one when at low levels. I don't think this is changing any speed or balance issues. I think they're just cleaning this up. So I think in theory, like in the old days, in theory, it was kind of you were supposed to get the later animations were supposed to give you more stuff behind them. I think actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but like way in the early days, I have this memory of it being like the first attack, the later attacks in the chain actually gave you a higher to hit bonus. I don't. Do you remember that?
Vaguely, it seems that. Yeah, I gotta say, it seems that was the case.
I think they took that out a long time ago, though. So they're just making it all smoother. So yay. I think we kind of talked about all the other stuff.
Can we just like talk about one thing though?
Yeah, absolutely.
The ogre death animation now plays all the way through. How did they die before? I never paid attention.
I have
Like,
no idea. I
like,
do not know
and
what changed there, to be
and
honest.
like, was this just bugging the poor animator so much he had to fix this one thing?
I don't
I'm
know.
like,
I mean, look,
okay.
there is a master list, probably more than one at SSG that says these things are not working as intended.
Right.
And there is a certain point in time in which, they get to pick something off of that. I mean, some of that stuff will get assigned, but there is a point in time where the devs just like, okay, we've got time. I've got a day to do whatever I want. Hey, what's on this list? I can do that in a day. I'm going to fix the ogre death animations. Is it that big of a deal? Probably not.
Right.
To most people.
Yeah, I'm just like, I guess I should have paid attention to how they died before. Now I want to see the old version.
Yeah, right.
I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, it's definitely in there. I'm gonna skip all the enhancement stuff because we've already talked about all that stuff. I think for the most part. I don't think there's anything in there that I wanted. Hey, Divine Might. Because I saw this in the chat. Why are they nerfing Divine Might? The short version, to my understanding, is one, they're not trying to nerf it per se. They're trying to change it and have it be more or less the same, if not slightly better. Whether or not they achieve that goal, I'm not sure. I didn't do the number crunching. But they're trying to make it kind of come out more or less in the same spot in terms of gameplay and balance. The reason why they're doing this change, is because the way that it worked in the old version was such that it gave you a bonus to a statistic, which meant that your modifier would increase. So if you have that ability in a world where you're now saying, hey, you can get 3 times the modifier of this now for this weapon, this ability becomes essentially necessary and more powerful than it should be. So by changing it to bonuses to attack and damage and DC feats, you get around that issue. Now, is it coming out evenly? I'm not sure, but that's the theory behind it. And again, they can tweak the numbers. I think most of the places where people are looking at this as where it's kind of a nerf is because they're putting this on an insight channel. So if you already have items that give you an insight bonus to these things, you're not getting a bonus to it. Now, the flip side of that is a bunch of these things said that they provided an insight bonus to these things in their tooltips, and they didn't, and now they do. So there's some stuff there, kind of a little bit of a give and take. We'll see how it plays out a little bit. I think the DC thing was the thing that people were kind of more concerned about from a nerfing perspective. I think if they reined in the saves of monsters at the high end, it might come out a little better. Be less of an issue. Let's see, other stuff we want to talk about. I think this is gonna kind of mostly cover it. We'll come back to some of the stuff as we get through some other things as well, but I think we kind of mostly covered a lot of this stuff. Anything else you want to make sure you hit?
No, I think we pretty much. Oh, well, I guess we could talk about the Cerulean Hills wilderness areas had a little polish makeover.
Have you gone in there? I haven't been in there
I
yet.
have not. No, I have not gone in there yet. and then there's the new public area in the harbor and the Cerulean Hills with it's called Gatekeeper's Grove.
Yeah.
Just one gatekeeper in there now. I surmised and figured on the last DDO Players News. I assume they're going to move all the gatekeepers out there, so that's where you're going to get to like Temple of All Evil and all of that is going to be there instead of the Hall of Heroes.
Maybe.
Is what I figured they were going to do with this.
Well, they did say that they're going to have an adventure pack in the Cerulean Hills, which feels kind of weird, because the Cerulean Hills is kind of a low-level thing, and I don't really think of the gatekeepers as an early. I mean, I guess you have to keep on the Borderlands. I don't usually think of the gatekeepers as an early level.
Right?
action.
Yeah, they're more mid-level. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I haven't actually gone in there to see what the one gatekeeper that's in there now, what he's doing in there. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it.
We did get suppression tech for mounts. I haven't really looked at it very much yet, or haven't seen it very much yet. So, shared bank. We got the shared bank UI changes. We'll come back to that. I think that pretty much covers the release notes. Let's see other things. Oh, we didn't mention Hardcore Season 2 rewards. So this was in the release notes as saying, hey, you can go talk to Eritrikos about Hardcore Season rewards. You can actually go and look at what the rewards for Season 2 are going to be. I would caution us to understand that this could change. But currently, for 1750 favor, you will get a Devil Bone Helm. For 5,000 favor, you will get a Devil Bone Mount. 10 Reaper points is still a cloak, and 20 Reaper points is a Crimson Dretch pet, and you still get a cloak at level 20. So it's the same benchmarks, which is my first kind of minor beef. I would like to see them add something for level 30 to incentivize more people to go into epics, because there's not really a huge incentive to go into epics, other than if you're going for the Reaper points. I think pretty much everyone that got to the 4,000 Reaper XP, the 400,000 Reaper XP, the 20 points, did it in epics and legendary stuff, because you just get more per run. But I think something to incentivize more people to go into level 30, I think, would be a good thing. The other thing that I'm not really super stoked about is I would like to still be able to get some of maybe the Season 1 rewards, or like I would like people to be able to get the Season 1 rewards if they want them.
I was kind of shocked at that they didn't give you the option.
They may.
You could do either the new stuff or you could get the Season 1.
My hope and what I would like to see them do is when you turn it in, you can pick which season reward you want. Like you can pick which one. So if I go to the Eritrikos and I've got 5,000 favor, I can say, hey, I don't want the Devil Bone Mount, but I want the Bloody Footprints, which I didn't get last time. Right? Like that's what I really hope that they do. And then make it a bit, hey, if I get 5,000 favor twice on a hardcore season, get the other one. Fine. I think it's great. But that's what I'd like to see them do. I don't know if they will. I like they're adding new things to get. I mean, I think you have to. And I like what they're adding is... So far, I like what they're adding, right? It's not, hey, get +2 to all your stats for all your characters, right? Like, I don't want to see something like that. But that's what I'm hoping to see for Season 2. Let me pick which of the rewards I want. And if I can get it twice, give them both. Let's see. Delaire's end rewards. So the end rewards for both Delaire's and Catacombs actually changed. There are no longer named items at the end of these rewards. They're just junk loot stuff. The named items now come from the quests themselves. It has been pointed out that this is perhaps not the best way to do this, because in order to get into a quest, you have to be at the right part in the chain. And I think there's a lot of validity to that argument. So I think, and I don't know what the fix is there, because I don't know if with their tech they can make it so that once you've done it, you can go back in and do that quest, right? if I have to farm the entire chain to get the one item I want out of one part, especially with catacombs with what is it, 8 parts? That's lame.
Yeah, I ain't doing that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty lame. Um, on the bright side, I think anything that is like game breaking gotta have. It's great for level stuff. Now, the exception to this is the Delayer's end reward does give you either the epic. You can choose the epic voice or the voice of the master. So yeah, I'm not super stoked about some of that stuff, but hopefully they'll kind of make it a little better. Hey, let's talk about ship resist, because this is everyone's favorite topic right now. Flimsy wrote in. He said there's a lot of arguments we could make for keeping those buffs, but the big reason why they had to go had to do with balance and not just on Hardcore League. Take a look at these buffs from a game design perspective. At low levels, they make you completely ignore a trap that would murder a newbie. You could walk into that acid or fire and what have you, stand around in it, take a shower, go get groceries, do laundry, take a long weekend, and still be fine the next week. Whereas a new or returning player character without access to a grandfathered in guild would die in a split heartbeat, not even knowing what happened and likely bounce out of the game entirely. I have 40 hit points. What is this 50 cold damage twice? Are you kidding me? How is that fair? Cue table flip. This puts level designers between a rock and a hard place. Do we balance the game for veterans who laugh at anything that does level 30 elemental damage or less, and routinely swim in lava for the lulz, or do we try and make new content that would draw new people in? Or maybe we could do both. Maybe we could write a tricky script that would check every player in the dungeon for old school guild buffs, and if they do have them, up the damage and everything for them specifically. Wait, that's not going to work either. What happens if your guild buffs expire mid-dungeon? What's the point of upping trap or monster spell damage to counteract an existing buff? Won't that act make that buff meaningless to begin with? Also, can you imagine the bugs that would come out of that? Yes. Probably be rather amusing or something, but if the buffs didn't make such a dramatic difference, we could argue about their effects being unimportant, but they are disruptive. In a way, they reduce your hit point bar to a binary value. You're either at full health or you're dead. You either walk through hell without a care, or you pop your soul stone and gasp at the pop you are a soul stone, I think is how that should read, and gasp at a combat log. It's as if you had 1 hit point and your con modifier and other defenses meant nothing at all. It's a very narrow design frame for build content systems. Sorry that these changes are hard to accept, but we did it for the long-term health of the game. I kind of disagree with everything he said, with the caveat that this all makes sense to me. Please go back and balance some of the stuff that seems to have been balanced with the idea that everyone has 30 resistances at level 2. He did say Kobold, Shaman, Lightning Bolts are no problem. Not sure about the best way to fix them. I think there's also... I also actually sent him a message directly saying, hey, take a look at the lightning traps in Recover the Lost Home.
Oh my God, yes.
He said he'd take a look. So I from a conceptual level, I think everything he's saying is totally on. I'm totally on board with. They just need to go back and do some balancing work on some of that stuff, because some of that stuff hurts a lot. Owie. As long as the game is balanced with that, the idea in mind that you don't have level 30 or you don't have 30 resistances until level 11, fine. That makes perfect sense to me. But I would also point out that they said that they were going to take those out when we got the new guild buffs, and never did. Also, the new ship elemental buffs do actually have, there is an elemental resist, and it does scale by level. I did see some people saying, hey, why don't you just do this? Well, they did. They just didn't take the old ones out. So. Okay. Bugs. Alchemist spell components. Short version, they need to kind of do a better job in the game of letting you find places to buy them from.
Oops.
Yep. 64-bit. If you have 64-bit, or you're trying to run 64-bit, and you have an NVIDIA graphics card, there's an issue, and they're investigating it. There is a workaround. Basically, go to the NVIDIA control panel, Manage the 3D settings, program setting, add the D&D client 64 exe. You must have already tried to run the 64-bit for it to work. Select that program and choose high performance NVIDIA processor. We'll link to this thread in the show notes so you don't have to listen to that. Find this in the show and listen to that 20 times to get it to work.
And this is not affecting every NVIDIA card either, which is weird.
Interesting.
I personally didn't have a problem with it, but I know a couple other people did.
Yeah.
But they have different NVIDIA cards than I do. So, yeah, it's something to do with the NVIDIA driver.
I haven't tried it yet, to be honest. Let's see, shared bank. They're investigating an issue where the shared bank is not properly re-indexing. In the meantime, players can work around this themselves by dragging out and then back in the items in their shared bank, which will cause it to display properly in new search results. Neat. I'm going to wait for the fix.
Yeah,
it's got a search feature.
It depends how big your shared bank is. I'd probably just wait for that fix too.
250 some odd items.
Yeah.
Maybe if I have some free time, I'll take care of that.
Hey, there you go.
Until then, I'm just going to wait for it to get fixed.
Watch a little Netflix, move some stuff out of the shared bank, you know.
They're aware of issues with Mount Lock. They'll be looking into it, but they won't make it in time for the next patch. The R&D for the issue isn't small enough to make it in time, which I take to mean that we're going to get a new patch next week, early next week, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I believe I didn't write this down, but I think there's a bug currently with the Divine Might stuff, the click thing, the various versions of that. Also, let's see. Some divines gained defeat respec tokens erroneously with update 45 when their deity feats were swapped for the new format. You should have the correct feat, so you shouldn't have to change it. But hey, maybe get a new one, a free feat swap. Also, due to a bug, they've had to disable Grey Light. For now, this is in the Catacombs. He shows up as an optional. You'll have to talk to Dryden to continue the quest until he's fixed. The Grey Light will return in the next patch. There you go. Ooh-wee. That's the Cliff Notes version. The long Cliff Notes version, I guess. Anything you want to say about Update 45 before we move on?
No, I'm excited to check out an Alchemist. I haven't actually created one yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to looking at it and trying it out at least.
I've seen a few running around, so people seem to be enjoying them as far as I can tell. So that's good. Bonus days, double daily dice through today, February 16th. Wait, that's a lie. Tomorrow's a holiday, President's Day in the U.S. This double daily dice is actually through February 17th. So it'll turn off Tuesday morning. Store stuff. Hey, the Alchemist is on sale. I didn't get the price, but I assume it's the same price as other classes? Question mark.
$17.95, I do believe.
$17.95?
Yes, I do believe that's what it is.
Really? Wow, that seems expensive. Is that what other ones cost?
I'm pretty sure I looked, and I'm pretty because I have a free to play account that I use just so I can look at this stuff.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry.
$14.95.
Edward's saying $14.95.
Yeah, which is the same as the other classes. It'll be interesting to see. I guess most of the class, well, because you can get Artificer and Favored Soul from Favor. It would be kind of neat if they added a favor option for the other.
Oh yeah,
the other ones. But maybe that's just me. Too bad they just did a favor pass. The store sales for the week. Honor Your Guild, 20% off of Astral Shards, Guild Renown Elixirs, and 50% off of Guild Charters and Guild Airship Beacons, now through February 20th. Man, I wish we could add something else into the Honor Your Guild. It just feels so lackluster if you're in a guild already. See, the weekly coupon is the Enchanted Repair All Kit. The coupon code is free repair through February 20th for all of that stuff. Hey, this is not, I didn't see this in the release notes anywhere, but apparently you can no longer use these Repair All Kits while you're dead. Which clearly was not working as intended, but All right, community news. The 369th Chronicle. Illusionist PM has created a new gear planner website, so you can check out more about that. Is that different than the tool that just came out? I'm not sure. I
I
haven't looked at it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at it either.
Hmm. The Lava Divers, Miguel and Kyber, got a shout out for completing Too Hot to Handle on Reaper Difficulty 2. My condolences and congratulations to all of my guildies who managed to make that happen.
Yeah, good job.
They were there for a while.
I would think so, yes.
There were many, many attempts. Much coin was spent on repairs.
Yeah. Many res cakes were involved too.
Well, you can't use res cakes in a raid, so.
Oh, that's true. You can't.
But there was a lot of dying and a
Wow,
lot
I'm
of
sure there
iterations.
was. I'm sure there was. I can imagine.
I saw more than one person comment something about how long it was going to be until they ran Too Hot to Handle again, and it was usually measured in years.
I will have to watch that video.
Congrats to them. Yeah, you can learn a few things about it. I didn't watch it, but I'm assuming that the tactics weren't fundamentally different than what we've been doing for the most part. But it Too Hot to Handle is a raid that I think it might balance. My opinions on the balance are pretty well documented. But outside of that, that raid to me seems so much more predicated on luck than it does on skill and completing a higher difficulty. Just from the stamp that's its predilection for having lag issues, and how things spawn and where they spawn, and it just kind of is a bit of a mess. In that, there's a lot of variation of luck and randomizing luck in that raid, I think, just because of how it currently stands. The comment: name a DDO themed soft drink. Can we not just, is the Dirty Kobold not good enough?
I was just gonna say, what's wrong with just a dirty kobold?
Yeah,
come on.
I mean,
it works for everything.
Okay, sorry, that's a hard drink. This is a soft drink.
Okay, well, okay, then let's see. Erytricos Diet Cola. There you go.
I was trying to think of like the blood of something. I think it would be a
well, like the blood of all
a Flenser blood or something.
Yeah,
something like that. Let's see, fansite news. We got a shout out for the final part of our review of 2019. DDO Players News had more questions than answers in the 250th episode. Hey, congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, 250. That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, we're coming up on 600. Oh boy.
Yeah. Wow. Long way to go for that.
Yeah. The Dams of DDO continued their year of epics. You can check that out. DDO stream shoutouts: Alex and Lynn, Psycho Blonde, DDOPL. Twitch shoutouts include Shrimtom, Big Deeps Johnson. That's the Reaper Too Hot to Handle. It's one of the guys in my guild. And Voodoo Spice streamed Friday Night Raid. Friday Night. And on YouTube, Cyber Magician ran Summerfield, Tusk Reaper Gaming went into Invaders, and Tobril raided without pants. I don't want to know.
Exactly. Hard pass.
Yeah. The 370th Chronicle. Hey, if you're in the Boston area on Friday, February 28th, also known as PAX East, I think, they're hosting a community event. It will be at the Adventure Pub in Arlington, Massachusetts. There is an RSVP, which I don't think you actually need to. Oh, sorry. They need to get a final head count to the venue a week prior. So there you go. There will be time for both personal and general Q&A, free food, fun, and games, and probably even a few secrets. If you're a streamer or broadcaster, we expect to have the capability to have you do something from the venue if you want. They're also exploring whether there's enough interest to set up a few computers to play DDO or Lotro on. Wow, that's some commitment to this thing.
Yes, it is.
This is literally a pub catering to tabletop gamers and RPG players. Also happens to be run.
Pub sounds amazing.
Wait, happens to be run by someone you might know who used to go by the name Vivienne, who used to be a dev, I believe. Would have been nice if it would have hyperlinked her name just to like find her post or something. But there you go. Yeah, so that's the PAX East meetup. There also was a. Is that going to come up later? No. There is also kind of starting a conversation about. Oh yeah, there is. Players are already planning to go to Gen Con this summer. You can check that out. Looking kind of early conversation about what kind of a meetup there's going to be. Spoiler alert. I'm probably going to be there if you want to say hi to me, because I am the reason you would want to go to Gen Con. Clearly.
That's right.
Please do not come to Gen
Okay,
Con with me.
that's now I'm going for sure this year.
Yeah, right. Axel has an informed rundown on Update 45 system changes. Most of the stuff that we've covered, but you can check out his opinions on the matter. The anniversary event is back through March 8th, I think. What the comment this week is, what is your favorite part of the anniversary event? Mine is the Kobold Sentient Gem.
I think mine is just all of the in-jokes that are
Sure.
make up the whole dungeon. It's just the whole thing is just a bunch of in-jokes, which is great.
It's very, very fourth wall meta breaking.
It is, yes.
I
like that.
Yeah. Fansite news, DDO Players News talked about Alchemist and more. That was your latest show that came out this week. The DDO stream shoutouts, Doug Glendower, Backlagor, and DDOPL. Twitch shoutouts are Oncat celebrates Palentine's Day. Is that like Emperor Palpatine and Valentine's Day mix? Interesting. Cetus did Sorcerer, and Samus Garobo did some XP. And on YouTube, Nubicabra previewed the notes. Aldbar talks about how you solo the Shroud, and Force plays the Alchemist. Can I just give a shout out to all the people making content for a game that's like almost 15 years old still?
It's amazing,
Right?
and it seems like every week there's like somebody new that pops up on either Twitch or YouTube that's doing something with DDO. So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, pretty neat. Let's see. D&D night on DDO stream is still going. Really trying to make sure we have stuff going. By the way, the next DDO Kasplat, no, D&D Kasplat, for D&D night. We did record an episode. It's basically the next filler. So whenever we need one, that's when it's gonna play. So, if you're wondering, I know you mentioned that on the show that we recorded an episode. That's why it hasn't aired yet.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, whatever happened to that one that we recorded? But
Oh, it's
I
uploaded.
see.
It's ready to go. It's just it's the next
see.
backfill
Okay,
episode. Because what
awesome. Good
what
to
I'm
know.
trying to do, we're trying to do is make it so that we have one every week. Like we don't want to miss a week, like have nothing for that week. I mean, if we don't, whatever.
Right.
But we want to try to have one every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And so to accommodate that, been trying to build up this backlog of recorded shows. That's what Stormreach Chronicles was actually supposed to be. And then everyone in D&D Kasplat like had their schedules change, and that time frame was no longer a good time frame. So I had to get creative. So Stormreach Chronicles is now my live show, which we got through Collaborator last week, which means I need to do prep work because I haven't finished the next phase yet. Yeah. So all that to say, D&D Kasplat will probably air in March because I won't be ready to do another Stormreach Chronicles. So there you go. And DDO Kasplat should be back on Wednesday. It will probably be the last one for season 5, and then we'll come back after my baseball season ends, and I'm not umpiring 3 nights a week. So there we go. That's everything I got. You want to do some shout outs here, Drac? What's going on in Players News world?
Other than, like I said, we did hit our 250th episode, which is amazing, and I did mention it on the show. I do believe we are now with you and the damsels. We are the 3 longest running DDO podcast.
Did anyone else make it over 100?
I don't think so. I was trying to look, and I went on like the internet wayback machine, and I looked, and
I can only
most
think
of
of
them
3 or
only hit.
4. Even
Yeah,
to begin
most
with.
of them only hit like 50, 60 episodes. Some of them didn't even hit that many. So yeah, so it's kind of cool. But yeah, you can check us out over at ddoplayers.com. We record the podcast Monday nights at 7:30. You can listen to it live. Just go to ddoplayers.com/live if you want to listen live, and then it releases usually Wednesday.
7:30 Eastern, right?
Same way, yes, 7:30 Eastern.
Yeah, great. And you're on a couple of the D&D night shows as well.
Yep.
So find you there.
Right now, I'm in 2 of them.
Sounds right. Hey, if you ever want to stop by for Stormreach Chronicles, let me know.
Yeah, one of these days I'm going to. It's just usually, I know you've asked me a couple times, and it's just like my schedules didn't line up. I had stuff planned that Saturday, that Sunday, but I definitely want to. I've watched them all, and they're amazing, and I can't imagine the amount of work you put into like creating that.
Let's just say that my actual completion time in the actual game world for some of the Korthos Island quests was over 2 hours.
I can imagine, because you get pretty detailed. So yeah.
Yeah,
but
it's been a lot of fun. It's kind of a weird, kooky thing to do. And we had Flimsy on the last time, so that was kind of fun to have a dev, like an actual game designer dev, not just Cordovan, in one of the quests, and there's usually several jokes cracked about how this isn't how things should work, but it just is because of video game magic and stuff. Right. So I'm sure there'll only be more of that coming down the pike. All right, so thanks for listening to the show. Thanks to Drac for joining me this week, and thanks to all the contributors for DDOcast. Hey, 600 is coming up soon. What do you think? Would people let me get away with we'll do episode 600 at Gen Con? I'll only do 10 episodes between now and then. No, that's not. We'll do more than that. Let's see. And thanks to Sandy Stone Games and Wizards of the Coast and to Cyber Ears for hosting the podcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit our website, DDOcast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. If you have a DDO-themed webpage or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, you can email us at ddocast@gmail.com, and you can hit us up at ddocast.com for show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff. If you'd like to be a part of the show, if you have a comment on this episode, a question you'd like to hear us answer, a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, hint, my topic list is a little low right now. I do have a couple, but or you just want to say hi, leave a comment, email us, ddocast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media and follow us for the latest cast updates at DDOcast on Twitter. So may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs.